Perfect. Well, let's some people trickle in. Awesome. We're almost done, everyone. We're so excited to have you guys along for the ride. I'm excited to introduce our next speaker, Chris Ryan. He's the Director of Product Management at SPS Commerce. And in this session, Chris will explore strategies to enter brick and mortar retail successfully and how to optimize your supply chain for this transition. So, Chris, take it away.
Thanks, Matthew. I'm going to kick this off with a little bit of a plant question. So I kind of want one number from everyone. So if you can just throw it in that side chat here, I want to know how many order channels you currently support and have to sell through and execute on. And while you're doing that, I'll just give a little bit of background on SPS. So if you're not familiar with us, who is SPS Commerce? We are the world's retail network. We support over 1 million connections, have 4,200 buying organizations built out, and that number continues to grow. Over 100,000 suppliers, including built out to the ERPs and systems they need to run their business. 1,000 3PLs, including a really deep, great relationship with ShipBob, and want to thank them for having us here again today. And then we do have the ability to support all the different fulfillment models that those buying organizations might ask you to sell through and pass requirements along to you for. I'm going to jump into a little bit of consumer trends, market trends, and then kind of pair that up with data we see at SPS Commerce. So I'm just going to hit you with some headlines here to start on a constant battle against unpredictability. So we pulled a lot of different headlines from the major publishers out there. Is consumer debt, it continues to increase. Thoughts around spending habits this year. Is it going to be a big year? Is it going to have some struggles? But I kind of want to focus in on how customers shop from both a when, how, and where lens, as I think that's going to have a huge impact on how you all run your business over the next 2-3 months here. So just to pull some survey data, the majority of people plan to start shopping before Halloween. And of those, there is no season. It is a year-round event for them at 25%. I do not fall into that bucket or even the 53% bucket. I am a November, December guy myself. But I want to kind of take this survey data and pair it with some trends we see from SPS Commerce. So I got a couple graphs up on the screen here. On that left, you'll see documents, and think of a document primarily as that order to cash cycle between a retailer, a merchant, and their 3PL. So orders, acknowledgments, shipments, invoices, etc. And then you'll see our kind of year over year and month over month data here. A couple things to call out. Looks a little funky around September. That is due to when we pulled this information. I fully expect that purple line to come up either at or above the orange one and follow the trend. The second thing is, and this one's more important, is I mentioned we have 1 million plus connections at SPS. That crosses every product category, seasonal spike, or item that you could think of. So what that naturally does between having 1 million connections and very broad coverage from an item lens is it naturally smooths out our data month over month, year over year. And I mention that because that November spike that carries into December might not look all that crazy, but that is a massive influx of order to cash documents coming into our network and then out to our customers, representing millions and millions of documents. So it might not look all that crazy on here, but that is because every other peak season or every other major shopping event kind of gets naturally smoothed out by our item categories. And it does really spike in that November, December range. The other thing, to tie back to that previous slide, I don't see that shift to shopping before Halloween quite yet. So maybe they're as ambitious in the survey. Maybe we'll watch over time and see if that end of year kind of smooths out. But what we do see is if I go to my next set of graphs here, and so if that was month over month, year over year, this is really narrowing in on Cyber Monday and Cyber Tuesday. So I've been at SPS for 13 years now. I have seen a lot of cyber weeks. And one trend that we are seeing is as those retailers kind of spread out the deals and the advertising from maybe a couple days before Black Friday, on Black Friday, through the weekend into Monday, and depending how things are going into Tuesday, Wednesday, we are seeing spikes all around that in more of like a 7 to 10 day stretch. So those blue bars on the bottom of each of the graphs are an average Monday at SPS. And the blue line is Cyber Monday and Cyber Tuesday. So you're actually starting to see Cyber Tuesday, that order document flow, increasing at a greater rate than what we see on Cyber Monday. Cyber Monday is still massive, huge day, but we are starting to see some spreading at a more week over week lens around those major shopping events. So what does that mean for you all? I think it might give you a little wiggle room and how quick you need to fulfill orders, and instead of them all coming in on one day, maybe spread over 5 or 6 days. But it also gives a little bit more unpredictability on where they're going to come in and how you got to staff to meet those. The next one, so I just kind of covered off on the when, and now I'm going to kind of shop on or dig in on the where and how they're shopping. So I don't think it's going to be a surprise to anyone in this room of 86% of shoppers doing some online shopping, with only 14% plan to do all that shopping in store. We see a very heavy mix of shopping of what we call omni-channel. They want to be met either online, in store, ship to store, etc. But I do want to call out that over time, that exclusive in-store experience for people is dropping, where you can see 20% of baby boomers, but then only 4 and 8% of millennials and Gen Z that are going to exclusively shop in store. So I think we're going to continue seeing that online trend. And one of my pet peeves is whenever people talk about online, it kind of comes across that, oh, that makes everything easier. I actually think the exact opposite. There are many different online channels with their own nuances and requirements and challenges, in addition to supporting that store experience. Okay, so what does that mean for you all as merchants? So I kind of went through the when, and then I kind of went through the how. And I asked that order channel question up front for the main reason of I talk to a ton of merchants, we call them suppliers or brands at SPS. And one thing that consistently stands out to me is that even small, newer companies are consistently managing 30, 40, 50 plus order channels once they get running a little bit. And that number might sound really high, but when you start out, you're receiving a lot of email orders. You might be receiving orders via PDF. I still talk to a lot of people that get orders via fax. So that could be 5, 10, 15 different companies ordering from your local or regional areas through those channels that you need to maintain, understand how to fulfill, understand pricing requirements for. And then everyone is now selling into marketplaces. So we obviously, I think everyone spent some time at Amazon at one point or another. You see Walmart increasing their marketplace presence, Target rolling out Target Plus and people getting and selling on there. They also have an e-commerce store hosted. We see Shopify a lot, but there's some other e-commerce players out there. So there's, these order channels start stacking up already on what you have to manage and deal with and fulfill. And then I'll say, once you go into that wholesale retail B2B space, it kind of changes the game, and those order channel requirements can kind of escalate. So on that opening slide, I talked about us being able to support all the different fulfillment models. So when you land a deal with Target, it's not a one-to-one anymore. It's I have to sell to the target.com orders and fulfill that order channel that has a different set of business requirements and rules to follow than when I ship to their store, than when I ship to their DC. And then if my volume increases enough, they might ask me to do cross-dock, where it comes with a new set of rules. So landing a single retailer can mean 2, 3, 4 plus different order channels that you need to manage, understand, and execute on. And then the other side of this is you're going to start having to manage constant change. So I went through, and we have the ability to look back and see how much change we have put into production across our network. And I went back over the last 2 years and I picked some big name retailers just to see how many times we go in and touch their EDI documents, touch their labels, add a new document, or add the support for a new fulfillment model. You can see up on the screen here, Walmart at 202, Target at 110, Costco at 66. That's just how many times SPS has touched our side of it. And then they have business processes that change, that correlate with those changes. So why are these retailers doing this? I already touched on one. They are trying to meet that customer where they're shopping and continuously adding new order channels to find their way into the consumer spend. The second one all kind of lands on what I'll call supply chain efficiencies. So those retailers are consistently looking for ways to make their supply chain more consistent, which means some change to what they're asking both you as a merchant supplier And if you use a 3PL like ShipBob, what they're asking ShipBob to do and meet and fulfill inside their warehouse before they pick, pack, and ship. Some examples in there are consistent rules on cartoning, labeling, how high pallets can be, how wide they can be, all those kind of things that your warehouse, and if you outsource to ShipBob, they deal with on your behalf. So I just want to kind of wrap up my section here, and then I'll jump into some questions on how SPS and ShipBob can kind of take all of this very complex business process, fulfillment model, communication from all these different 30, 40, 50 plus order channels and feed it into a single flow. And then ShipBob kind of meets you on the how do I pick, pack, and ship and make sure I can manage my inventory and get it to where it needs to be so that you can all focus on what you do the best, which is create awesome products and focus in on selling. From there, I will turn it over to questions.
Yeah, I did see, Chris, a question from Lauren. Do you think the buy online, pick up in store helps the in-store experience overall from your perspective?
Yeah, I think so. The buy online, pick up in store. To me, I think it's a huge challenge for the retailer and making sure that they can meet that customer where they want to be met. It also pulls them into the store, and I also think we're seeing a lot of returns management where you can buy online, return in the store. And to me, it's a helpful for the retailer, maybe helpful for the supplier from a convenience lens in those sell-through channels.
Yep, absolutely. I think there's a huge convenience that goes into that as well. Also, another question, what do you typically see merchants or brands struggle with in making the jump from e-commerce to wholesale?
Yeah, so when we see that jump, I think depending on your product, inventory is a huge one where you're going to have to start shipping and moving larger volumes. And then the second one is those order channel requirements that I kind of touched on. Retailer to retailer, there are a lot of rules and processes you need to figure out how to follow. And if you don't figure out how to follow them fairly quick, there's a couple different avenues it can go down from negatively impacting that business relationship, either with your buyer or their supply chain team. Sometimes can result in chargebacks. The other piece that we see is just growth, right? So if I'm selling onesie twosie items to a bunch of places through e-commerce marketplace, when I grow and expand, it's not just the selling and the inventory going out. Sometimes it is the returns coming back in. And that can add a lot of complexity on where and how and what do I do with this product. And because a lot of times it can fall back in the supplier on how to handle it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think there's some key themes in there with supply chain efficiency and order fulfillment and just really seamless retail operations when it comes to that. I know you kind of touched on chargebacks a little bit, and there may be some concern for some e-commerce merchants looking to get into retail and chargebacks being an issue. What are some best practices to prevent chargebacks in that instance?
Yeah, absolutely. So chargebacks is a pretty consistent hot topic when we talk to both retailers, suppliers, and 3PLs at SPS, since we work so closely with all three. I'll just give a little bit of background. Is there are a lot of retailers that do them. They can be very detrimental to your business, especially if you have a lower margin product and you're getting dinged on shipping, pick and packing, and not hitting shipping windows type stuff. There are a lot of retailers that also don't do them. So like the funny thing with chargebacks is it is an immediate, I can tie dollars to it, which is impactful. But if they don't do chargebacks and you still don't follow their supply chain rules, it can really negatively impact that relationship and can come into play when they start talking about price increases, increasing ordering, or expanding to other stores. So it's not always just about chargebacks to me. It is like, how do you meet those retailers' requirements to maintain that healthy business relationship? But I think the best advice I can give is try not to learn the hard way. They do publish a lot of these rules, or you can partner with companies like SPS or ShipBob that do take on a lot of the functions that result in the chargebacks. I think most of the ones we do see are related to shipping shortages, shipping windows, not using the right carrier, that type of thing. So education and finding the right people that can help you is where I would give the advice.
Thank you so much, Chris. Everyone, we have one more session. Email Chris, connect with SPS Commerce. We're giving away a prize. So stay tuned. And thank you so much, Chris. Thank you, SPS Commerce. And thank you, everyone, for joining us today.
Thanks everyone.
You can click leave stage, Chris, on the bottom.